All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started here. So the first thing is we're gonna butcher a New York strip steak. This is a thoughtful process, start to finish, even taking it out of the bag. Here I'm taking it out on a side that's not gonna be the presentation side. We'll trim most of that away anyway. And then I'm leaving the bag to catch the excess blood. That bag is definitely gross, cross-contaminated, so you want to be careful where you let that go. We'll go right in the trash can today. New York strip, you have this side, which looks like a New York strip, and then you have this side. If you guys can see that, there's a vein in. This will eat like an old shoe. So this is called the vein in, and the other side is going to yield your nice cuts. So for a New York strip, you typically with these have a little bit of fat on top. Your first step is just to go through and remove little by little. I'm going to do this after my demo today. So if you want to see me cleaning up a New York strip, just come back for that in a second. But today I'm going to start by demoing how to cook a steak. Jeff, you need to be fair and turn that up. Just go ahead and turn it on like medium high. So here we have trim. That's a freaking awesome trim right there. So, I would say this maybe for a tasting for waitstaff or something like that. Your first cut here though is an actual steak. In my mind, if the steak's not an inch thick, it's really very forgettable. So I typically cut about an inch thick, and I typically, in a restaurant will have them weigh about a pound, which on a plate will yield about 12 ounces. So with the New York strip, you do have a chain right here that comes off. We're going to take that, and then as you can see, there's some silver skin right here that would eat like a rubber band. So we're going to take that as well. And then you're going to give it its very distinct look, which is right here. Again, touch of silver skin. This is much easier to do as part of the primal, but for efficiency today, I'm just going to speed this process up. And then lastly, you'll go through and you'll trim this, just because there could be some bone fragment down here on the chain. And that's it. This is a New York strip. Pretty distinct look, right? This is a cut you'll find in a NEMP guide. Today, for you guys, I think I'm going to have you cook half of it. So I'm going to cut these in half, and every team will get a half strip. So this is what we're cooking. When you go to cook a New York strip, you're always going to want to have a seasoning pan like so. What you don't want is anything that can break in the kitchen. So hotel pans are perfect. I'm having to dig for pepper because whoever ground the pepper, did it way too coarse. You guys see what I'm talking about there? That coarse pepper, no one wants to eat that. So, years ago, this was kind of trendy for a while. But no one wants that much pepper. I mean, it's not high quality pepper to begin with. If it's not been freshly ground, like within the past hour, it's not nearly as good. So you always want to go for more of a medium grind, not that. More seasoning than you think it should have. There's a properly seasoned steak. From there, we're going to go into a screaming hot cast iron skillet. That is not quite screaming hot, so we're going to make sure it is. With minimal oil. That's been on for about 10 minutes, but I turned it down for a minute, and that was apparently a mistake. We'll give that just a second. In the meantime, we're going to make a broth. So here we have water. Kind of breaks my rule of always using a flavorful liquid. But to that, we're going to add a touch of lime juice. And we're going to add some soy lecithin. You guys familiar with soy lecithin? It's health food. You can find it in any health store. It's not something you have to ever be concerned about using. With this, I would typically start, this will make a lot more sense after you see it froth, but I would typically start with about a tablespoon for your batch, and I'd say about a pint of whatever liquid you want to use. And honestly, I think that would serve dinner all night long in most restaurants. From there, you're going to disrupt it just as violently as possible. So your first buzz never does the trick. We'll come back to that in just a minute, but that's the basic process. You'll see here in a couple of minutes when we come back to it, it'll really froth up nicely. And if it doesn't, we can always give it just a touch more lecithin. All right, so this is what you want to see the pan do. It's ready to cook. When you do that, we'll go ahead and put that in. The oil, you definitely want to just slightly come up the side. Unfortunately, it takes quite a bit of oil with these big diameter pans. I mean, for a steak that size, I wish I had something smaller. But it'll do the trick. You guys hear the noise it's making? You see the smoke? That all is necessary to get a nice sear on these. So, back to that foam or froth. We'll see if this is ready to play nice. When you're doing this, it helps to create as much surface area as you can. So if you tilt it like so, you get one jet that kind of shoots up. You guys see it frothing now? So by cutting up one jet, really like disrupt the surface. That's where you're going to get your nice froth. It's really close, but I still want to come back to that in just 1 second. Here are your volcano bones. For those of you doing this today, or for those of you that just want to try it, I would highly encourage it with a little salt. Maybe I'll just go ahead and put a touch of salt on them now. You know, you can use the backside of a knife or a marrow fork to remove this, but you just go right around the bone and you pull the marrow out just like so. So that's what you're shooting for. When you go to use this in your sauce, you don't necessarily want to use like any veins or anything that's discolored. You really want to go with a nice white, and then you want to cut it in coins. So beautiful stuff. If you've not had that before, please try it. So my steak now has a different look. The base is very tight and constricted, and the sides have not yet really been exposed to heat, so they still look the same. So I have like one side that's coagulated and one that's not. But you guys see the crust on this thing? That's what you want to develop on a steak. Make sure you get a good look. You saw about how long that took. And the best thing you can do for a steak, really any protein, is just leave it the hell alone when it first goes into the pan. You know, with fish and a lot of proteins, you'll have one side that's nicer than the other. That's always your presentation side. That always goes into the pan first. But we're going to give this a few more minutes, and then I'll pull it and I'll rest it. Typically, you know, in a restaurant, I would collect fat. So like, you know, the butter that you asked about earlier, from clarifying the clarified butter is right here. So there's all my milk solids. That's where I'm going to rest my steak. So it's going to taste great because it's been in that. If I cook foie gras, I'll save my foie gras fat. If I cook bacon, I save my bacon fat. Having a flavorful area to rest your meats is brilliant. You know, if you're a meat cook, that does as much for you as a glass saves. So very important there as well. Okay, so I can tell how far this steak is cooked just visually alone right now. Right now it's a rare, but with carryover, it's going to be more like a mid-rare after it rests. But if you ever have any doubts, you look at the side, make sure you have a nice caramelization. This only works on a steak that's nice and thick. If you get, you know, like little half-inch steaks, you might be able to sear one side. But you won't get it even done. So another thing you can do with searing like this is baste. Like if I was cooking fish, I would throw some whole butter in the pan right now. I would leave the protein away, and I would baste like so. The basting process builds flavor. You could throw a crushed garlic clove in there. You could have maybe a little bit of fresh thyme. You know, anything you want. If you want that food to the sides, not just cook the sides with, you know, tin based. And that's it. That's all she wrote. So now I'm going to go in my hole. And I'll probably flip that once while it's resting. And that's pretty much it. If you would, please walk over here. We'll look at clarified butter. So this got started this morning around 7:30. As you can see, it's been skimmed quite a lot. I'm just going to skim it once more. and I'm going to pass it. I'm going to pass it through, I'm overkill. A chinois feed is probably fine, but I'm going to pass it through a coffee filter and a chinois feed, and you guys will have clarified butter ready to roll. We have this old batch first that we should use first, please, as soon as it's liquefied. But you can start pulling from this today too. Any questions about all that stuff? Oh, let's look at this one last time. I will do a composed plate. When this steak rests here in about another 5-10 minutes when this is ready to slice. But for now, you can see this is holding its structure, this froth. I'm just going to hit it one more time. And in a dinner restaurant, I would do this a la minute before every time I plate. But you can be quick now. Remember that jet? You have one jet, it's going to do all the good. And now you're going to be able to harvest the froth. Kind of the same rule applies when you're harvesting the froth. You want more surface area, and you can really grab, the foam. So, you can garnish however you like with this on a plate. What do you think? Pretty easy, right? A little bit of wine froth with a steak that's been rested in butter should be pretty tasty. So, that's it. Thank you.